Hello and welcome to part 3 of our watercolor mini lesson. In today's tutorial, we're actually going to go ahead and finish all 3 of our mini watercolor paintings. We have our galaxy night sky, our river landscape, and our distant mountains. You will need your watercolors and brush, your water, your round or circular palette, and a piece of paper towel. Please go ahead and pause this video so you can set yourself up and make sure you get your paintings. Make sure your paintings are dry from the day before. And if you actually have not yet worked on your paintings for parts 1 or 2, please stop this video and go back and complete again parts 1 and 2. So to get started today, we're going to go ahead and finish our distant mountain landscape, and then we'll work on our other paintings. Now, as you can see here, I was already painting today. I actually went ahead and added that last layer here. I did film it, but right in the middle, my camera turned off. I think the battery died. So I don't have that footage for you, and I deeply apologize, but I'm going to paint on another piece of paper anyway. Now, for this painting, to remind you of where we've been, we have been creating washes of value by using the pigment and water and adding more and more pigment as we come down and create another level of mountains. Now, to turn this in, you need at least 4 levels of value. That 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, that background layer counts. So I actually had that before I did this last layer here. I had 1, 2, 3, 4, but I had so much extra space down here that I added 1 more. I felt like it needed a little something. So if you're looking at yours and you're like, you know what, I really like those 3 mountains that I have, I'm cool with that, then that's fine. You can go ahead and take a picture and submit. If you would prefer to add another mountain range, that's fine as well. Either which way, the process is exactly the same as the ones that came before, except this time you're not going to add as much water, you're going to have much more pigment. All right, so I'm gonna put these off to the side, and I'm gonna bring over just a plain piece of drawing paper because that's what I have. And I'm gonna recreate that process for you. Again, you're gonna do it right on your painting. I'm just doing it because I don't have that footage for you. Now remember, you're gonna take your brush first thing and activate your brush in the water. And then my recommendation today is to tap off on the side before you go to your color over here. You do want to activate the color, but you don't want to add like a crazy amount of water because you want that pigment to be super, super dark. How do you make it dark? Use less water. Now you can come over here and tap into your palette just to sort of like see what you got on that brush. I don't know, like you really might just work straight from here. Now, when you go ahead and paint your mountain, make sure you make it different from the mountains that came before. You really want them to be unique and different as you come down. And maybe you want to be more dramatic down here. It's up to you. And if you don't like it, you can change it up. Maybe I'll do something like that. That's nice. But for this one, it's going to be different on this paper here. But for this one, you really want to like load up on that pigment and allow it to be super, super dark. And again, fill it up all the way to the bottom. If you need more water, tap in there. You can pull that down. Remember, you can change your mountain range. I'm going to smooth that out a little bit. It's a little bit too dramatic for me. And fill that up. If you have any pooling, move that around a little bit. And then you'll have something like this. All right, so just make sure it's looking really dark. Do you see how it's darker than the one that came before? That is key. All right, if you already went really dark in that previous mountain range and you can't get darker, maybe that's a good time to stop. All right, I'm gonna put this off to the side for it to dry, and I'm gonna put this one off to the side as well. Take my paper towel and clean up my space a little bit, and then I'm going to pull over our river landscape. For this one, we're going to keep using blue. I'm actually going to teach you how to change that blue a little bit. We're going to kick it back, make it a little bit more gray, and we are going to add some texture to this river down here. To remind you, we did a wash of blue, we blotted up some clouds, and then in our last lesson, we went ahead and created this mountain range here using green, but also blue for shadows and yellow for our highlights. I like the way that this turned out. If you wanted to add another layer here and make it darker or manipulate those colors like we did on this one, right? You can go ahead and do that if you wanted. I'm happy with mine, so I'm going to leave that and just work down here. Now, when I say texture, I mean something like this, where we have some indication of some highlights and shadows on the water. So if you take a look here, here's two of them, right? This one has like shorter, darker, choppier strokes, where this one has like longer strokes here across the water. You do want to think about your use of line here, and I'm going to show you how to do that. But first we need to think about color. So we can use this straight blue here, but as you know, this blue is like really, really vibrant. It might look a little strange in this composition here. So I'm going to teach you how to kick back that color a little bit. So I have some of my blue here. I'm going to grab some more. I do want this color to stay dark, but I add a little bit of water. And I'm actually going to tap into my orange just a little bit. Now I haven't really used my orange ever, so I'm going to activate that orange. I'm going to tap over here, and I'm going to add a tiny bit of that orange paint over here into my blue. And if you notice, it's going to sort of like make it like a steely color. Let me come over here. A steely kind of gray color. Now that feels like a little too gray, so I'm going to do that again. Pull some blue, maybe just tap a tiny bit of that orange here. That's going to kick it back a notch. Do you see the difference between those two colors? Let me get more of that. It's just like a little bit darker, right? Try that out there. That's sort of nice. It's a little too gray, a little too much orange in that. Maybe I can add some more blue to that right there, which is very, very different than that blue. Do you see it? Do you see that difference? I hope so. Why orange? How did that work? Well, orange is actually the complement of blue. So when you add orange to blue, it's going to take the intensity down. And if you add blue to orange, it's going to take that intensity down. And we're going to talk more about that when we talk about color and color theory. Either which way, when you're happy with the color that you have, I'm going to do a little bit more over here. Again, blue and like the tiniest bit of orange over here to just kick it back a little bit. And then I'm going to sort of make sure my brush is nice and neat and organized. You don't want to brush like this, right? We want a more organized brush. And I might turn my paper, and I'm just going to make some nice long brush strokes, sort of here and there, and allowing the brush, you see how it tapers off naturally? Allowing my brush to sort of just do its thing. Now I went this way a bunch of times. Maybe I'll turn my paper this way, because if you look, let me grab over my tester. If I pull it this way, this like skinnier part of that brush stroke is going to be down here. And if I turn my paper and I do that opposite, the skinnier part will be that way, if that makes sense. I also might want to, let's talk more about color. I might want to, I'm going to pause with that. I might want to make more of like a green kind of vibe to my water, right? Maybe there's some algae or something in that water. Maybe the reflection from the like mountain hill ranges in there. That's kind of nice. So that's like more of a blue-green. See how that's a little bit different? That's kind of nice. I like that. So I'm going to incorporate, let's pull this over. Incorporate this color. I'm moving this guy around quite a bit, aren't I? Adding little strokes. That's a little bit too punchy. Little strokes here and there. We can overlap. adding some texture. You don't want to kill all the lights that you have in there though, right? Don't just paint over the entire thing with brush strokes. Allow some of it to sort of just live and be its own thing. What do you think? Nice. All right, so that guy is also done when you're happy with this. I might go back into it here and there. I'm gonna let it dry for a second, but when you're happy with your texture down there, you're gonna go ahead and take a photo and submit that as well. So far we have finished 2 paintings, our distant mountains and our river. All right, I'm gonna set this one aside. And last but not least, I'm gonna pull this one over. So if you remember, this is our night sky galaxy situation. And today we are going to add our silhouettes down at the bottom here. Now, if you want to turn your paper this way, that's fine as well. I sort of did mine intentionally vertically so I can add in these trees down here. I'm going to teach you how to paint the trees like on a tester piece of paper like this one. And then we'll talk about if you wanted to create some buildings, or if you have any other ideas, you're more than welcome to reach out to me and talk to me about it, and I can coach you through that. But I do want to teach you how to do these fun little trees down here. Now, when we're thinking about this painting is all about that sky, right? So we do want to allow the sky to live. We don't want to take over the whole painting with like really gigantic situations down here. We want it to sort of hover around the bottom or the lower half of our painting, whether that's vertical or horizontal. It's up to you. All right, whatever you do, make sure this is dry before we move on, and we're going to use black paint. So this is the last thing I want you to do. So if you're not done with either your river or your distant mountains, please go do that first, because the black paint here is really powerful, and it's going to take over our whole world in just a second, including our water. All right, so we are going to, I'm going to pull this over. We are going to go ahead and go from our water, even though it's blue, it's fine. Go and activate the black paint. I might tap over here and just to make sure. I don't want too much water on there. I want a lot of control, and I want this paint to be really, really dark. And to do these little trees, I'm going to pull over this piece of paper. To do these little baby trees, you're going to take that black pigment and you're going to create a little line. I'm going to test that out first. A lot of paint on here. I'm going to do a little line. I got to get this comfortable. Straight down. And then you're going to just tap back and forth in like a little Z pattern. So I always let that top area be. And then you're going to just do a little tap, 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 in like a Z pattern, getting sort of wider and wider as you go down. All right, so to be more dramatic about that, let's do another one. Paint, I'm gonna change my height. I'm gonna come up a little taller, drag that down, doesn't have to be straight. Leave the top there, tap, 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 all the way down. I'm like zigzagging down, little zigzag trees. All the way down. And that's it, all of a sudden it's a pine tree, which is pretty awesome. Again, vary my size and how close they are. You might want them to overlap a little bit, like that, right? Leave some of that light coming through. It's gonna be really beautiful when this color comes through. Right here is just white paper. But again, if you want to grab another piece of paper and try this out, I'll do a short one there. Make a line, tap, 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 all the way down, like that. All right, here's what not to do. If you do a line and then you like zigzag that, I mean, that's kind of cool. I like it, it looks cool, but it's a different kind of vibe, right? Another thing not to do is to make that line and then sort of like be too dense with it. If you do this and you're too dense with it, it kind of kills that vibe of like the little light coming through, and that's what makes it really special. Let me pull over these again so you can see. Do you see like the little bits of light there coming through, the pink, the red from the background? Same thing in here, right? And varying those trees up and down all the way across makes it look really organic and natural. All right, so if you're interested in that, go for it. If you would prefer to do something more man-made, something like this, we can do some cityscapes. You might want to take a look online and or find a city silhouette that you're interested in. Essentially, we're just going to draw sort of like, you know, rectangular marks across the top and fill it in, and then later, if you look closely, later you can go in with a white pencil if you want, or you can let it live and breathe open. I'm gonna turn this around this way. We'll do trees on top and the city at the bottom. So if I were to do a city, I would start with one building like that. And then I would intentionally leave some space instead of drawing with the white pencil. Leave that space open like that and fill that in. All right, just be careful, because if it goes into that little box, you really can't pull that out there, right? So maybe I'll do one more little window there. And again, this is white because my paper is white behind it, but if you remember, our background here is colorful, so that little bit of color coming through is going to be really beautiful. All right, so let's get started on our actual painting and stop testing. All right, so I'm going to carefully move this off to the side, and I'll switch, bring this over. I'm going to do the trees because why not? But again, if you want to do something different, you can. I have my paper towel here. I should pull that into view when I come off this water. I like to tap it there every now and again. So I'm going to load up my brush, not too much water. I want that pigment. I might do one more test tree. Yeah, that's good. And I'm going to come down here and I'm going to establish my first tree. Straight line coming down, and then I'm going to zigzag and dab this, allowing little bits of light to show up. Pigment, little tree. And tap. Pigment, I'll do a tall one here. Sound effects help you. And come all the way down. Now sometimes you'll make a little dab that you're like, oh crap, I don't like that one. Like over here, I didn't like that too much. Just keep going, don't overwork it. And then when you're done, you can sort of figure that out. All right, back in the water. I'm gonna keep going, maybe I'll do another one like there. Varying those tree heights, right? And then how close they are. Like some of these are best friends. All right, I don't like that guy. Ready? Watch how I'm gonna adjust it a little bit. Maybe I'll add another friend close by. And your eye sort of puts it all together, right? Load up your brush. I'm going back to that paint for like almost every single one. Have you noticed that? Maybe I'll make a little BB. I think I can fit two more. I'll do 1, 2. All right. So here's the thing, the last thing, pro tip, is to fill up some of the space at the bottom here so it looks really dense. Here it looks like all these trees are just sort of like exactly as far apart as they need to. But if you take this pigment, let me add some more, and you just fill up some of this down here. Especially like take your brush and sort of glide it across the bottom. It's not that you're creating land, you're just, it's gonna naturally get a little bit more dense down there. And you can add in, like, do take away some of that light here. Don't kill it all, but take away some of that light, and that's gonna help with that illusion that they are really close together. It's like a dense forest. There. Beautiful. I might add one more over here. This guy looks a little lonely. Needs a little friend. Just off to the side. Indication of another guy over there. All right. Now, if you want to get really fancy, you can use a white color pencil to go back in and create some stars like these guys here. Now, I do not have white color pencils for you in your kit, and I apologize for that. But if you have one of your own, or a crayon, or like a gel pen or something, you can go ahead and dab in those stars there as well. Now, I do happen to have one right here. I would recommend that you let this black paint dry down here before you attempt this. I'm just going to be really careful, and I'm just going to go in and use that white color pencil and try and be as sporadic as possible and add in some indication of some stars. I had a student do a little alien ship flying once, or ET, or something else, some bats or an owl or something. It's up to you. Again, this is not required because I did not give you a white color pencil in your kit, but if you are in person, I will have them in the classroom for you. Okay. All right, so this one is done, and that actually completes our entire lesson. So I'm gonna move this off to the side. We'll pull over all three of our paintings. We have our galaxy night sky, we have our river landscape, and our distant mountains. Now for this lesson, I want you to take a picture of everything all together like this. You're gonna submit it like I asked you to, but then I do want you to take individual photos of each of these three paintings and submit them for credit as well, because these are little works of art, and I wanna give you credit for that. All right, so that concludes our lesson, our tutorial, and all three of our mini paintings. Again, I hope you enjoyed this experience. I had a lot of fun painting these paintings, and I hope you did too. I can't wait to see what you've created. We learned so much about watercolor painting techniques and how to put them together, and I can't wait to see what you do next. Until next time.